How we doing?
Pretty good for a
Doing good,
Saturday
man.
morning. Can't complain.
Nice.
How
Except
was your
for,
run, Tom?
I did not go for a run last night. I I ended up so I went to the gym in the morning and then I was about to go for a run and then I kind of got sucked into the bird eye rabbit hole and stayed there till about 8:30 and then was like, ah, damn it. I should probably go to bed.
dude, it has been such a hectic week in terms of just being permanently glued to the screen. I swear to God.
Permanently online.
I don't think I've slept much this week at all. I have been a terrible employee at work this week.
I've been in a similar boat where it's kind of just like riding shift over to bird eye, just moving stuff around. And I'm like, I'm gainfully employed. I should probably get back to that.
Yep. Doing
Uh,
trading shitters on the shitter. That is what I've been doing.
trading shit is on the shitter. Couple of poo coins.
Couple of poo coins. Yep. That's what it's been. All right. Let's kick it off.
Hell yeah.
I don't hear any music from the intro this time. That is great.
Nice.
We can just make it up. We can
Yep.
just do a quick song together.
Sick one.
Brotato Capital barbershop group. Just
Yeah. La la la. Buy my shitcoin. All right. Very good.
If I could turn back time,
oh, get it,
I
Swiss.
would have bought with.
Speaking of, what do we think about the whiff to a Billy thesis?
Oh man, it
Oh,
seems it just kind of keeps going up only, really, doesn't it?
It does. It does. I was watching the Ansem stream last night and he posted his little Solana chart speculating on a 140 Solana run. And he said if Solana gets 140, whiff goes to a Billy. And then since then,
Jesus.
we've been down only.
Do you think it's possible it could go to a Billy?
I think, like personally, I think I think there's like a relative valuation trade you've got to have with Bonk. Um,
Yeah.
and I think while Bonk still sits at this level and tried to break out yesterday and then proceeded to get knocked the fuck down,
Mm.
I think until it has its move again, I don't think Whiff gets a move because if the relative valuation between the two becomes, Whiff at a billy and Bonk at 1.5 billy, it looks a little bit ridiculous.
Mm.
That would be the ultimate top signal in my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. It all I think what is really good about it is it shows I don't know too much about the whole like liquidity to market cap type ordeal, but it does show a lot of demand for very risk types of sol altcoins, which is kind of cool. So you saw Bonk teleport and you've sort of seen Whiff go up as well. So I think that's really cool to see on Sol, to be honest.
Yeah, I feel like the little roller coaster meme just comes into my head when I've been watching the last week play out, where like you slowly divulge into like more and more retarded tickers, and the amount of like SPL tokens that have been created in the last week is like quadrupled. It's like the highest amount Solana's ever seen. Um, so I think that just like speaks to the dispersion of the capital now. So I think you'll get less of these massive run ups like we did with the bonks and the whiff
Yeah.
until such time that everyone tries to rotate back in and consolidate into some sort of winners of sort.
Mm.
But I think
Yeah.
if that was to happen, you'd probably get back to some sort of rotation back to value. So you might get, the Jitos and the Jupiter whenever that fucking comes out, uh, and that like those coins will start catching a bit again. As the sort of meme season dies out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Yeah,
think we've
because it
probably
has
got a
to come
week or
to an
two
end.
left. Yeah.
There's just too many. Like you look at
Mm.
new pairs on deck screener for Solana, it is fucking insane. Like you refresh it on the 1 hour timeline, and there's just like literally like 30 new coins every time you hit refresh in like 5 or 10 minutes. It's like how, and of those coins, about two of them actually cop a run, and it's like, oh, this is unhealthy.
Yeah. I mean, if we all agreed to buy Bonk, I feel like we would have flipped Bitcoin by now.
This is the thing. It's like, guys, just everyone agree to buy like 4 coins and let's just do it.
Yeah,
Market consensus. No one
this
sell, everyone buy. That's it.
yeah, yeah.
Future of France.
I think the
But
one that's
it's
been
actually
doing
been so cool to see. Like I've not been able to jump on what's that called, Bird Eye, to like scroll through all the available ones that are there. But it's been very entertaining to see people on the timeline talk about things going down like 90% and then going up 200x and stuff like that. Yeah, I think it would have been pretty fun to punt a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
So do
It is.
I take that you're sidelined there, Swiss?
I've been doing some degenerate things. I've been aggressively longing the due pre-market token
Yeah,
on
okay.
Avo. That's probably the most degenerate thing I've been doing so far. But yeah.
Yeah,
That was
nice.
the most like I've been doing degenerate things. Guys, no.
I'm relevant, I promise.
I'm a degen. Trust me.
Tom, what's been the most degenerate thing you've done this week?
Well, there's a lot of degenerate things I've done this week. Kind of just throwing 0.5 soul bids at every single new pair for like hours at a time, and then ripping them out on like doubles or triples is pretty. It's pretty low for me. I'm like, yep, that's good stuff. But it has just been nuts. Like the kind of internal mispricing of like a 0.1 soul bid now. Sorry, a 1 soul bid that used to be $50 and now it's 100, and that's
Yeah,
happened in like 2 weeks. It's like, oh shit, this is actual money now. Uh-oh.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah, this morning I
yeah,
aped into some AI coin on Sol, and I was just like, oh yeah, I'll just throw 5 Sol at it. Like that's like 50, like I don't know, that's like $100 or $200. It's like no, that's like $500 now, like pretty much. It's like holy shit.
yeah,
And then it nuked like 50%. So I was like, brilliant.
yep. Oh, dude, there is like a couple of positions I've taken where, yeah, like 8 soul. When I was like actually bidding it and getting my position sorted, it was a total of about $600 because I got a spreadsheet running that I'm actually tracking shitcoins on,
Oh
so I don't
wow.
just lose everything. Because I was like, nah, I actually need to know where I am because it's moving so quickly. So anytime there's like a buy or sell, it just goes in the Excel. But damn, dude, yeah, like there's like a 8 soul exposure position that's now 3.5, and I'm like, oh, that would have been $800 if I just held soul. Genius.
What do
Yeah,
you?
I've noticed that too, actually, that even with some of the higher cap altcoins on Sol, if you've looked at the pairs between Sol as the denomination and whatever choice of pair, um, it started to trend down, which was like a little bit similar to the ETH DeFi, maybe
Mm,
correlation. So like over time, the underlying actually begins to outperform the choice of shitcoin you choose to use. Like Python Jito are probably a good example of this,
Yeah,
where they've kind of fluctuated with a good amount of volatility on the USD pair, but over time, and especially the Pyth one, it
mm,
just is down only against Sol
on Sol.
ever
Yeah,
since it reached its top.
yeah.
And so I think that's really healthy, to be honest, because it means that there is still a larger preference to hold Sol as a long-term bet than some of the ecosystem options. temporarily. This is what I'm just seeing now, as just an observation.
Yeah, well, I just pulled up the Judo
Mm.
market cap. It is about the same market cap, like circulating market cap as WIF right now.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
Yeah, I
like
saw that.
when you put that in
Yeah.
perspective, it's like pretty crazy. Yeah, it's almost the exact same
Yeah,
market cap.
and I think that's why, like I said in the chord, like maybe last night, about how I believe that Sol could have sort of like two ecosystem uh liquidity injections, essentially. Like right now, we've got a lot of demand for coins such as Bonk and Whiff, and they've, like, if you go on, for example, if you take a step back, if you go on CoinGecko and look at the Sol ecosystem category, um, and you look at the tokens that are in Sol, apart from USDT, USDC, the next valuable coin within the Sol ecosystem is Bonk,
Yeah.
which is quite interesting. And the interesting thing is that I kind of believe that maybe like Pyth, Judo, and Dupe would be at the top of that list, and thus believe that maybe once the meme coins die off and then more liquidity comes back into Sol, we could see a change in that structure where the projects that actually have teams working really hard end up becoming at the top of the list rather than at the bottom. Like, I think from what you've told me about Jito, Buonal, and what I've seen on the TL is that it's supposed to be just as good as Lido with flashbots. If you know what
Yep.
that is, great. And the fact that it's not as valuable as Whiff right now is like quite hilarious. But at the same time, like, yeah, pretty interesting.
I think if you look at Jito chart and you just look at the price action of what it's been doing most recently, I'll just take off all of my stupid lines off of here. But I think it resembles a lot of like the early tier price action. So if you
Hmm.
look at the chart, we've got like this like initial run up and then this like long sideways accumulation sort of range. So if you look at the tier chart, it also had that sort of initial spike, and then this like, I don't know how many days it was. It was like, let me pull it up on the daily. It was a few less days, but it was like 10 days worth of like accumulation. But like, it's just that like initial run, little bit of a accumulation range, and then has its sort of like run up to $10. So I think that's sort of where Judo's at. But like as you mentioned before, Swiss, like the Judo chart versus Sol, like it's literally at the point where it initially launched, like, or it initially bottomed after the launch. I obviously don't have pro trading view, so I can't go less than the daily on this pair. But yeah, so you know you would have been better off selling that initial spike and just holding Sol for this period. But I definitely think you see those return to value type plays come back into the eco after this meme season is done.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think that's a very, very sound thesis because it's like this can only go on for so long.
Yeah,
And I think there's just a lot of, euphoria around trying to catch the next kind of, 10, 100,000x. But it's like, most of those, I'm not saying that it's all of them have already happened, but the chances of it are just less and less. There's just so much dilution of attention and everyone kind of getting behind their little coin. And it's like, yeah, that that has to pull up soon.
yeah, and I think a lot of that came from the fact that people made millions off of Whiff. So you see
Hmm.
those like posts on the timeline, you get that like FOMO, and the only reason that sort of thing sort of happened is that whilst people thought people were on Sol at that time, they weren't really on Sol, and then those people were genuinely early. They all came around a pretty good meme. Like it's really memeable. That dog with hat thing works pretty well. So yeah, I think it's got to end. You see this, you've seen this play out with like the ETH meme coins back in like August, September. Um, this a whole lot less cults than we had with the ETH ones, but I think it's just got to come to an end soon. It's too ridiculous.
Agreed. All
Mm.
right. I mean, dude, the other thing that kind of I've been a little concerned about, but I'm now freed of that worry, has been with the Saga phone. Like,
Bro, don't get me started.
dude, I never thought like I mean I've never thought I'd be this worried about not getting a Saga phone. Um, and then I mean yours like I think you ordered yours 12 hours before I ordered mine. And yeah, you got your confirmation email like the next a day or two after.
Dude,
And
mine is
I ordered
actually here, but it's stuck
oh
in the fucking concierge, and then they closed yesterday before I got home. So, and they don't open again up until Wednesday next week. So, I am in so much pain right now.
dude, mine, yeah, because I was like looking at the Discord after Solana sent out that message being like, hey, due to inventory management issues, we've had to cancel some orders. And I was like, no, please, dear Lord. But then about 5 minutes after that tweet came out, I got my confirmation email and I was like, oh, thank you. But it looks like it won't be here till like the 1st or 2nd of January. And I'm kind of like, all right, soul shitters. Hold out till then, please.
Yeah, fuck. The only I guess positive thing is like it's not just the bonk airdrop that people are getting now. Like there's that access token. There's a few
Yep.
other ones that are starting to come out. So I think it's definitely a good play
Oh,
purchase of
definitely.
that phone.
It's gonna be a free phone for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure, for sure.
Just with the amount of teams. I was chatting with a few like not Solana devs, but as in people that build on Solana at the Upside Down meetup in Melbourne the other night. And there's a lot of talk there about further airdrops and more incentives for Saga holders. So I'm like, that's good.
That's really cool.
That is cool. That is cool. What do you guys think about this whole ETH coin moving over to Sol coin action that we've seen now? We've seen SPX take the lead as the first mover of
I haven't,
bridging
yeah, I
their
haven't really
meme
seen
token.
what's going on.
What do you guys think of that happening out? Is that like a top signal for Sol at all? Like it just reminds me of when like Rollbit and like DMT and all of that moved from whatever chain that they were on back to main ETH chain because that's where the liquidity was, and then
Mm.
everything kind of like stalled out from there on ETH.
Yeah, I don't really have like I don't have too much of an idea. I think it seems like a good play if you're betting on Solana still moving.
Mm.
Um, Funnily enough, I bought SPX kind of relatively soon after it bridged, and that was not the play. The play would have been to have bought ETH SPX after the bridge because the Sol the Sol proceeded to just absolutely shit, and I was like, oh, nice. I was like, yep, we're doing it. So I was like, okay. As usual, the opposite move was the move.
Yeah.
Um,
There was
I
actually
don't
an
know.
arb of between like the price of the Sol version and the ETH version. There was like maybe 10-20% difference, I think, at one point. So you could,
Yeah, damn.
but the only thing is you'd have to factor in the fees. But I was like half tempted to like try and arb it, but then I was like, man, I'm just gonna get raped on ETH fees, and I don't want to use this chain, so I didn't. But
Yeah. Speaking of, like, I do think we spoke about this last week, but again, I think it's worth touching on. Um, just ETH versus Sol in general. Like the ETH move, there seems to be a general consensus among like a lot of the traders that I'm kind of partial to that an ETH move's just going to suck the liquidity out of Sol more broadly. But I don't know if I'm sold on that. I think that
Mm.
now that we've got the taste for fee free or just 0.00001 cent kind of gas fees, I don't know how sticky ETH is for people looking to actually not necessarily flip, but just move stuff about. consistently.
I
Because
think
I
people
moved,
need to stop trying to make fetch happen.
yeah, legit, genuinely. Because I'm like, man, have been on Sol pretty much exclusively for the past 2 weeks, and then I moved a couple of coins, sold a few things, bought a few things, and was like, oh my god, I just spent like $180 in gas.
Yeah,
Like that's absurd.
it is literally. And like you get to the stage where like your wallet runs out of ETH, so you need to like top it up in order to like do a swap because you like aped all of your ETH tokens into some shitter or something that you thought was valuable or going to be valuable, and then you're like, oh, let me sell this now. Oh wait, I can't. I need to send
Literally.
myself money in order to perform a transaction.
Send me more money so I can lose more money.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah. I do think that there's a lot of room here for like ETH L2 activity now. I mean, we're seeing that with like Optimism Arbitrum price. What do you guys think about like layer twos as kind of like the next eco play?
Well, I think we've got
Mm.
EIP 4844 coming up, and I think that's a bit of a narrative, because it makes the L2s cheaper to post back to the main chain. Whether that's a good thing, like or not, like it's debatable. Because ultimately you're making the whole ultrasound money thing for the ETH token worse because they don't have to pay as much gas anymore in order to post back to the main chain. So it's interesting, but I think there's a play there for sure on the ecosystem token or sub ecosystem tokens. And I think you know with the catalysts of the ETF, once that happens, like the next obvious play that a lot of people seem to be talking about as well. Once Bitcoin's done, then there's the ETH ETF play as well. So
Mm.
definitely worth a punt, but I think longer term, I don't know if it's like the best thing. I think ETH has major identity issues and it needs to work it out. But I could just be bag biased. I am bag
Mm.
biased. Swisseroni.
Yeah. Cool. What do I think? I mean, I feel like if the meta changes to the L2s and people start to find opportunities there, I think people will just end up following like what they did with Sol. I think because of the previous cycle and the people that are still around, it's not like they haven't forgotten their experience with high fees on ETH, but it's like not too abnormal for them to go and chase the opportunities that would present itself on L2s. People might end up being well, for example, like people that have moved to Seoul and then said, "Oh, like I love having low fees. Like this, like why would I move elsewhere? I've got everything I need here." You could still have those type of people that go over to the L2s and think the same. So yeah, probably just like wait and see what sort of occurs in that example there.
I think if or once the Kenkun whatever Denkun upgrade happens, then maybe those L2s become a lot cheaper. Like that's in theory what's meant to happen, so that like
Mm.
sticky user experience around having cheap fees becomes a lot better for those L2s. So um, then my issue with it is just the ultimate fragmentation that you get from having multiple different chains that you've got to think about, like where is my ETH at. And they even though they're a quote unquote optimistic L2 for most of them, like the ARBs and the optimism L2s, like they're still not actually doing fraud proofs. They're still you know uh, yeah, the security models aren't there yet. So like
Mm.
it's not really anything else. Like I don't know. I'm just not convinced on it all, but we'll see.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I imagine there could be a future where you just have more of a, and this is kind of like just a general bullishness where it's like you kind of have a tide that lifts all boats kind of thing.
Mm,
And even though there's like kind of PvP based narratives at the moment where all the capital moves to one area and you just have like, oh fuck, it's Seoul right now. And then, whatever happens in the future, it's just kind of like where the attention starts moving, everyone follows. But following like just a more general kind of like influx of capital across the entire market cap of crypto, you could just kind of have splinters of activity on its own thing. Um, Obviously, there'd be like relative winners based on which one's moving most, but it would be less of like oh shit, that's the one that everyone has to rush onto. And you
mm,
could
mm.
just generally see like more just relatively similar activity across a lot of different L2s of like different days, obviously being comparative moves. But yeah, that's kind of like a more of it's a pretty soft thesis. I wouldn't say I'm convinced of it myself, but I do see that kind of playing out where once we zoom out of PvP and it's like, oh, there's actually just like money moving around now. Um, Less just attention chasing, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. I think like what could make the L2 thing work really well is the teams that are building on those L2s that raised, a while ago, that haven't released tokens yet and doing some token airdrops into their users. I'm not sure what sort of protocols um, are like that on some of those L2s, but I think if you give some fresh capital to those users, which then creates some circulation of new monies into the ecosystem, I think that's
Mm.
how you gain that traction and activity again. And that's what Sol's done recently. So
Mm.
if that starts to happen, I think that could be pretty bullish the whole L2 trade, which then ultimately sort of makes the whole ETH trade a lot more attractive. But I still think everyone's very heavy ETH like dominated, and because they're so heavy ETH dominated that it's the last thing to move. So I don't know if like ETH token itself will have a lot of outperformance, but I think those L2 tokens as a proxy of that will probably do really well.
For sure.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Cardano.
Yeah.
DeFi on Cardano, Swiss. You need to.
Mm. Does it exist? That's the question. It's a
Does it
question to ask.
exist?
It does
Next
exist
week.
apparently.
It
And
does.
yeah, but what I thought was absolutely hilarious was Masari put out a report the other day, and when they put out a report, Twitter community notes went nuts, because everyone on the community notes was a Cardano maxi and was
Oh
saying
no.
this report is biased. It does not list Cardano, which is a top 10 coin. I'll just pull it up on the old screen. But yeah, so it was Ryan Selkis or whatever his name is. If you go to the community notes, Masari's 2024 crypto thesis shows bias by omitting Cardano as a top 10 blockchain. This exclusion, seemingly deliberate, skews the crypto landscape and potentially misleads about market dynamics. Masari should be counted as a paid promoter, not an unbiased source.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
Seems about right.
yeah,
Community notes are ADA tards. Who would have thought?
yeah, yeah. I thought that was absolutely hilarious. Like, who who honestly wants to use that chain? Like, I don't even know if you can do anything on chain, but I do occasionally see a comment about people saying I own this token on Cardano chain. If anyone knows if you can actually do anything, please let me know. I am
Mm.
very interested in aping a Cardano shitcoin because I'm sure it's
Yeah,
going to outperform like every other bag I've got.
true. It is probably the most like, I wouldn't even say hated, but just like most forgotten eco. If it's out there, I'd love to know. And I'd
Yeah,
catch a bid right now, like immediately.
Mm.
But
absolutely.
just for the sake of looking in a month's time and being like, what?
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
I'm just so not aware of anything happening on Cardano. Just feels like the ghost chain of yesteryear.
yeah, yeah. Another chain that I think's been getting a little bit of attention recently, but is Near. Um,
Mm.
it raised pretty late last cycle. I'm pretty sure it was like something like 700 million that it did a raise for. Um, Near's interesting because it's like the original ETH roadmap chain with sharding, and now they're sort of shilling themselves as also being a data availability chain, which I think is interesting. Um, so they did like a comparison of like the DA fees using Near rather than using Celestia as an example.
Mm.
I just think they're just trying to catch on to a trend of sorts. I logged into my Near wallet the other day to see how it's going, and I see that they've retired their like native web wallet that they had, and you've got to like migrate it across to some other shitty new wallet. Um, and I went to try and use the eco, and like everything looks just as scammy as it did, but when I tried to play with it back in November 21. So, but you know that doesn't get in the way of a new narrative, I guess.
I was about to say that means nothing to say that there won't be a face melter.
Yeah,
uh,
for sure, for sure.
but yeah, I think the only thing I've ever interacted with on Near, and I mean not even on Near, but just by proxy to it, has been the sweat protocol thing. Um, fuck, I actually have to check that, but that's like it's essentially how to say it's not necessarily like a step in, like you don't have to buy anything, but it's literally like a move to earn Ponzi. Um,
Yes, that's right.
and because I take fuckloads of steps with those, I've just been like just getting them going. But the problem is the reason I kind of forgot about the sweat protocol thing was it doesn't sync with a Garmin or
Right.
like a device, and it's kind of like
Oh.
based on your phone, and I'm like I don't run with my phone, so I'm kind of like I'm missing out on like
All these free
easy
tokens.
the 8,000, 9,000 steps a day of tokens. I'm like, guys, no. So no idea there, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that just reminds me that, yeah, Near is one of those protocols that tends to follow these trends. So I remember
Mm.
they did that sweat protocol when the Steppen came out, when Luna was big, with the UST stablecoin thing. They Near, like pretty much Pico top Luna, like prior to the downfall, announced their USDN stablecoin, which had like the same mechanism as the Luna one. And then now that like this Celestia is like the hot new thing, like now they're trying to shield themselves as like a data availability
Mm.
chain. So like they're just constantly looking for an excuse for people to buy into their token, and it just makes it so hard for me because like the guys behind it are like genuinely really smart, and they had some like pretty good tech, I think. But I think because they raised so late, like they've got a lot of investor expectations, and they've probably got some VCs that are like, you need to do X, you need to do Y. Can you do this? This is the new narrative. We need you to market
Mm.
this.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're probably beholden to that, which really sucks. Because they could probably do pretty well otherwise, but
Mm.
until like you get some incentives and some better UX and stuff around people wanting to use your chain, then yeah, they're going to continue to do that, I think. Um,
Yeah.
but
Come on, Near. Where's your bonk? Hey,
yeah,
come
where's
on.
your dog coin? I need more dog coins to bag hold.
Yeah. I saw Awawat talking about like it's time to rotate from Dogcoin to Frogcoin on the timeline. So there seems to be like a slight shift towards potential like frogs, the return of the frog.
I think that's around the ETH trade. So I think because ETH
Mm.
pumped yesterday, you go, all right, well, what's the meme coin of ETH? Like, it's Pepe.
Yeah,
Um,
okay.
so I think like it was just a coinciding of those events. And Pepe did have a bit of a move yesterday, like 20%. Looks pretty good, but
Ooh. Yeah.
yeah,
Can't
I
say it's
think
enough to make me shift my attention
no,
from Soul yet. I'm like,
no.
I don't necessarily I'm not convinced of like the oh like, could be wrong, could be left in the dust. I'm still holding Pepe that I bought from a while back, but yeah, there's no ball tingling to make me think, yeah, this is the
the
time.
one.
This
Maybe
is the one.
maybe the lack of ball tingling is the sign, bro.
True. Don't trust the balls. Huh?
But all I remember is like end of October, when like Seoul had its bit of a run, and like everything was like looking like it was coming back, and like BTC had its run, but like ETH hadn't moved yet, and then all of a sudden ETH had like this big spike, and then everything nuked after that.
Mm,
That's what worries me with this most recent ETH move. It's like it's like the final thing to move, cycle wise. So like local top wise, I'm not saying like overall, but yeah.
yeah. No, I feel that as well. I just can't trust ETH to move consistently. It'll do 3% and then retrace. 3% and then retrace. Slightly higher, but nothing that inspires confidence.
No, definitely not. Definitely
At
not.
least for the short term anyway.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, what else has been going on in Z markets that catches your eyes, guys? I'm kind of a one-trick pony here because I'm literally the only thing that I've looked at the past 2 weeks, apart from just adding spot to core positions, has been gambling on Solana.
I think that's all we've been doing, bro. Like, I'm just waiting for like the dev smashed on Solana coin coming out now, where like the ticker is just like gobbledygook, and that to me is like the end of times for the meme coins. So if you're out
You
there
heard it
and
here.
you're making meme coins, make a dev smashed. I will buy it, and I will lose my money on it, and I will no longer buy meme coins for a while. So please,
We can lose all our money on Dev Smashed again, Wernal. Let's do it.
yeah, let's
I'm
do
ready.
it. I'm my body was born for this.
I think the Saga phone being sold out and then realizing that they took more orders on than they actually could manage. It's pretty sad.
Dude, you should have seen the state of the fucking Discord, man. It was just people being like, we should sue Solana. I was like, holy fuck.
That's insane.
Madness.
The
But to be
dog
fair,
is sizable. Ah,
yeah.
that's the new dog coin on DMT.
Oh,
It's
Is
the
there actually?
size chat. Yeah. It's called size. We should pull it up. 9 million FDV.
whew.
Wait, is this the right coin? Jesus. I gotta put this in log. No. Wait, that
Oh,
can't be the right
Lord.
token. Wait, which one is it?
Oh.
Oh, here we go. Camelot's the right dex. Okay.
Yeah,
It's looking pretty juicy.
that looks okay.
Looks good. Looks good.
What are we
What are we down?
9.2.
Wrong way. Oh, 0.618 retrace. Looks juicy, boys. Might have to load up the MetaMask.
Oh, God. I feel like I'm going back to the fax machine. I'm like, all right, time to open the Rabby wallet. Oh, no.
Time to ape.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks pretty good. Actually, speaking of pretty good and disrespected from the markets, need to shield my bags here a bit since we're on
Hey.
Sunco. But
Actually.
DMT. DM fucking T.
The
Come on,
market
guys.
is wrong. The market is wrong.
Fucking $100
And-
coin here and trading at $9.35. Come on. I'm sorry. I'm shilling my bags, but market's wrong here, guys.
Hey, we're allowed to. We're on Sanko.tv.
Yeah.
This is the place. This is a safe place for DMT shilling. We won't shill other bags, and we are shill-averse, but DMT, uh, you know,
Yeah. Small
the
Capital
market is
says
wrong.
cheaper the coin, the higher the burn, and I agree. So if people
Yep.
don't know, DMT burns its tokens regularly with usage of Sanko TV and with the Sanko games that you can play. There is only 1 million tokens, so the more the burn, the less the supply. So buy those boosts, burn those tokens. Market is wrong.
Non-financial advice.
No.
Non-financial advice.
Please don't ape into it.
Just get a lawsuit in a
Swiss is
month's
like
time.
1L, shut the fuck up.
Like, guys, it's like, please.
For our viewers, though, if you want a piece of comical storytelling, I did buy $28 and sold 9. So I may be the greatest to have ever have done it.
Yeah. I may
Where's
have
that?
bought $39 and then $15. So
Oh, you guys are fucking
Yeah.
amateurs. I'm pretty sure I bought $49, guys.
No, Tom, you were saying that you bought 50, but it doesn't even show up in the chart.
let me have
You
a
were
look.
you bought something that didn't even look.
Uh,
There's no candle wick on it.
Dude, I can't believe. Yeah. Wait. It's in the pod. I might have been actually downgrading the level of stupidness. But yeah, if you look on CoinGecko, let me have a look. CoinGecko DMT. If you take a look at that, I'm pretty sure it runs up to like a peak on CoinGecko of like 49.85. But I think I bought the wick that was like 53 or 54 or something. So, ah.
I just realized the chat that I had on the stream wasn't fresh, so I've just reloaded it. But yeah, I think it's a good project.
Yeah.
Like regardless of the token, it's a good project. I love to see people building stuff that's genuinely unique, and I will put money behind it regardless. I'm sort of betting on like the team itself rather than anything else because I think what they're building here is actually cool. It's not just another Dex. It's not just another fucking, you know, hectic borrow lending options exchange thing that like no one's really going to use. Like this is something that's pretty cool. Like you can stream yourself buying tokens while burning tokens, and playing games which requires tokens, and there's a whole social aspect to it as well. It's pretty cool.
Yep.
Chat says needs to refresh. Fuck. That's
Yeah.
because there we go. Let me. Thank you, Small Capital. You are a legend.
Hell yeah, dude. Oh, yeah, no.
So aside from crypto markets right now, I think the Coinbase move, which is still crypto market related, has been really interesting. We have literally gone from like $70 to $170 in a very short space of time. Like it has been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weekly candles, green ones in a row.
Damn.
It has been such a Chad move. And shit, I need to hide my those were my positions. But yeah, such a Chad move. It's been such a good play. I really think that the interesting thing with this move is that aside from Sol and that this week, it was really leading when Bitcoin looked shit, and so was a lot of the other crypto related TradFi stocks, which to me sort of gives like an indication that like TradFi doesn't really have a normal way to allocate, and I think a lot of these moves have been sort of ETF related as like a beta to like the whole Bitcoin ETF. And if you look back, like in the last couple of months, like the Coinbase moves have always like preceded the Bitcoin moves. So I think this past week of like outperformance here has been indicative of what's to come in the next week or two with the whole ETF announcement.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, Coinbase is custodying for a bunch of the ETF issues, aren't they?
Correct. The only thing I'm worried about with the whole ETF thing, and I'm trying to do some more research on because I have a smooth brain and do not understand, but there's this whole like thing that the SEC's been trying to make sure that all of the applicants are doing, which is these cash creates rather than the in kind. Um, my understanding of the in kind is like if you want to add Bitcoin into the like more Bitcoin into the ETF, so like the amount that the ETF holds, you can in kind you can like go from outside Bitcoin into the ETF, so you don't need to like like you can almost wash the Bitcoin in there. So I think that's why they're trying to go against it. Whereas like the cash creates, you have to use cash in order to create more shares of the ETF. So rather than using existing Bitcoin to create more shares of the ETF, you have to actually use cash first to then issue shares. So I think it's all around this whole like wash trading thing and people being able to like filter out their dirty Bitcoin that they've purchased on the black market or through hacks and that. So kind of makes sense, but they're really focused on it and like everyone's had to pivot in the last week.
Yeah, everyone's kind of been forced to do cash. And I mean, the main thing that I see with in-kind redemptions that I think like, oh yeah. And I mean, everyone says it in their filing. They're just like, this is way more efficient because it always like you get rid of like the bid-ask spread and broker commissions as well because you're actually like fucking selling the Bitcoin to raise cash to issue the shares. Was, yeah, with cash creation, you just got like that couple of extra steps.
Yeah.
So,
That's true, but I saw like there's a bunch of talk that's like what's different between uh, the ETF that's like the futures ETF than like this cash creates. Like apparently it's they could issue more shares but not actually purchase any Bitcoin, which doesn't really make sense to me. But there's like this whole thing like oh they can just artificially inflate this thing. The Fed can intervene and it's not real and all this FUD around it. I don't really get it.
yeah.
But if anyone can explain it to me in more detail, please shoot me a DM.
Yeah, it's like that. Once you start dealing with like the institutional digging around with Bitcoin stuff, it's just like, so does it make it go up or down? What's the what's the gist?
Yeah.
I listened to an interesting thing from, and this is more for like institutional investors, but I still thought it was quite interesting. It was a podcast from a few days ago by like the Coinbase kind of research team talking about like risks with the Bitcoin ETF. And this guy, I think it's, let me find it. Yeah, okay. So Coinbase's head of institutional research, David Duong, was talking about one of the big problems with it is that everyone's really focused on like the actual inflows on day one of like, okay, what does launch inflows look like? And he's like, I think that there's going to be high demand, but there could be a problem with actually sourcing the Bitcoin that's going to lead to a
Yeah.
lot of like pricing inefficiency in the ETF itself. So it
Yeah.
could be like a bit of a shit fight when funds are like, fuck, we need to get more. And I'm not sure how that actually correlates to Bitcoin price, but he does think there's going to be some problems with sourcing. And I was like, okay,
Yeah, that's going
interesting.
to be interesting because, like, how do they get? I was actually trying to think about that this morning. Like, where do they actually, if this whole cash creates thing, like, where do they actually buy their Bitcoin from? Like, obviously, Coinbase is meant to be like the exchange to help
Hmm.
facilitate that. But then, like, there was this wording around market makers and that, like, the SEC was like trying to get rid of. And there's probably, yeah, I really don't know. So like if you know that like Coinbase is the person that's purchasing or like some exchange somewhere is the person that's purchasing the Bitcoin on behalf of the ETF, this whole cash creates thing, like can't you just like transfer your stuff to that exchange and then wash it out? But I guess like Coinbase has got pretty good KYC and all of that. So
Yeah.
maybe that's like the counter to that. But
I feel like
yeah.
the SEC will be fucking on top of anyone doing anything remotely that tries to skirt like
Yeah,
KYC AML shit. Like
yeah, for sure,
that's their number one fucking worry.
for
The
sure.
other thing that I saw with BTC, like just ETF shit in general, was kind of like the death of the basis trade, which
Yep,
is like BTC futures versus spot. So at
yep.
the moment, like the premium between, mispricing between spot Bitcoin and futures contracts, like 20%. Well, it was as high as 20%, and you can just have like a really good arb trade by just looking at futures, selling your futures, and buying spot again, and just essentially repeating that. And it's like that's kind of I'm not going to just say it's done, but with it,
The GBTC arb trade sort of thing. Like, but I
literally,
thought
yeah,
like the purpose of the ETF like is meant to really track the spot price minus fees
Mm.
like pretty closely. So the it would have to go through some like recursive redemption mechanism if there was any sort of premium. I would have thought. Um,
yeah. I don't know.
but
It was just
I
this.
think there's like a tax issue like with the cash things. So like if someone sells, then everyone that holds there's a tax um, implication every time that someone redeems, which then that tax implication gets shared amongst all of the people that hold the ETF. So like you could be paying taxes more like significantly, and that's where like the inefficiency comes from.
Yeah, okay. No, that makes sense.
Yeah. Small Capital says saw some speculation about the government BTC being a source. That's interesting.
Ah, true, because they're holding that Silk Road
Mm.
shit. Like they've got, I don't even know how much, but it's a filthy amount.
And I think the other source was Swiss himself.
Mm. Yes.
That is correct. That is correct. I do like to make things up and run with it. I did have one more thing to say before I jump off. I do have to run. I have some IRL things to do. But the FTX claims being paid out on the price of assets at the time of the exchange going down and not what they're currently at. What do you guys think about that?
I expected that.
Mm.
I think it's really easy to criticize that when the price went up a lot. But if the
Mm.
price went down a lot and we went through the claims, like what would you prefer?
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Yeah.
What do you think, Tom?
I mean, yeah. With those kind of claims, I'm like, I think that, and this is probably going to sound a bit more skeptical. And again, I didn't have any money in FTX, luckily. Um, so very much a non-skin in the game take from me. But I do just think like, holy shit, the exchange went down. They've managed to claw back. Just be giga grateful that your money came back at all.
Yeah, yeah.
Is
What?
kind of like my position.
I'm obviously biased because I didn't have any claims on FTX, but I know that you did, Swiss. So how do you feel about it?
I think when the exchange went down, I was in the mind of pretty much just being okay with the outcome of never getting anything back, with how severe it was. So I think, similar to what you guys are saying, I think getting something back at valuations at the time the exchange went down is like better than nothing. And you're right. Like if the price went down further, then and they're willing to pay it out on the asset price, that'd be a bit shit.
Yeah.
And getting anything back at all is always a positive. I think, yeah. I would definitely like to see what the alternative would be with the FTX 2.0 movement, and what the options are there for restarting the exchange. Like I've never heard of this concept before. I'm not sure what that would look like, but would that actually yield a better outcome for everyone involved? In the likelihood that a new exchange, FTX 2.0, would be started up. I don't really know. I know that Loomdart was like spearheading this, and there's a lot of other smart comments around it. But yeah, just haven't done the research on that yet. But maybe perhaps for another time. But in saying that, I do have to jump off. So enjoy the rest of the stream, guys, and I'll talk to you guys again soon.
No
All right.
worries. Thanks, Swiss. Well,
Love you,
maybe
Swiss. Goodbye.
was there anything else, or should we leave it there?
I reckon we can probably wrap it up. I got some Christmas final things to do. I reckon we can keep it to a relatively quick one.
Cool. Well, appreciate everyone that came out. Thanks for your support. There's a few people that gave us some juicy boosts, so thank you very much. And hopefully we can get the whole gang next time. Definitely missing Styx and Z recently, so we'd be keen to have them back on. And Solana, $100 in a couple of hours. Thank you very much.
$100 Sol. You heard it here.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
All right. Catch you, everyone. Bye.